Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a life where no one holds power over your peace, where no one's chaos can shake your soul, and where your worth is untouchable. That life is not a dream, it is your birthright. For years, many of us have handed over our energy, our emotions, our very selves to people who thrive on control, manipulation, and drama. But what if I told you that the moment you stop feeding that power, the moment you reclaim your energy and stand firmly in your worth, everything changes. Not for them, but for you. Today, we will uncover the truths that will set you free forever. Narcissists survive on a very specific kind of emotional fuel: attention, validation, and the sense that they hold power over the people around them. It doesn't matter whether the attention is positive or negative. What matters is that you're reacting, engaging, and emotionally investing. Every explanation you give, every argument you enter, every tear you shed becomes nourishment for their ego. This is why they provoke, manipulate, charm, and confuse. They need constant confirmation that they matter, that they control the emotional temperature of the room, that your world bends around their moods and desires. But here's the truth many people overlook. This power is not natural. It is not real authority. It is borrowed, taken from the energy and reactions of the people they target. When you pull back your validation, when you stop feeding their need for constant attention, their entire emotional ecosystem begins to collapse. They cannot function without a steady stream of admiration, drama, or emotional dependence. Remove it, and they lose direction. Remove it, and they lose balance. Remove it, and suddenly the person who once seemed larger than life begins to shrink into someone surprisingly fragile, insecure, and hollow. The moment you choose silence instead of arguing, boundaries instead of people-pleasing, self-respect instead of reacting, something powerful happens. You shift the dynamic. You take back the control they relied on. They can no longer shape your emotions because you no longer hand those emotions over freely. Once the attention is gone, their illusion of dominance dissolves. They no longer hold any real power because the only power they ever had was the power you unknowingly provided. And when you finally stop giving it, they are forced to confront the emptiness within themselves, the very emptiness they were trying to hide through controlling you. And once you understand that a narcissist's power is built entirely on the energy you give them, something inside you shifts. You begin to see that the moment you stop feeding them, the moment their control begins to dissolve, you are no longer trapped in their world. You're stepping into your own. This is where the second truth emerges, not as a separate lesson, but as a natural evolution of the first. Your boundaries become the invisible walls they cannot climb. Boundaries are not walls you build to punish someone. They're walls you build to protect yourself. They are the quiet statements of your worth. They don't require shouting or proving or explaining. They simply require consistency. The beauty is, once you stop feeding a narcissist the attention they crave, these boundaries become clearer, stronger, and more rooted in your identity. You no longer open every door they knock on, no longer allow every demand to penetrate your peace. To a narcissist, this is like losing a key to a kingdom they believed belonged to them. They push, they test, they try to slip through the cracks, but the more committed you are to your boundaries, the more they realize they cannot enter. And this frustrates them deeply, because boundaries are the one force they cannot manipulate. They cannot guilt their way through them, charm their way around them, or intimidate their way past them when you stand firm. As these invisible walls rise, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel safe within yourself again. You begin to realize that peace is not something they can grant or take away. It is something you guard. Your boundaries become the architecture of your freedom, the structure that keeps your energy yours. And the narcissist, once empowered by your openness, now stands on the outside, unable to reach the person you are becoming. And as your boundaries rise, firm and unwavering, something even more profound begins to take shape. The third truth. Silence, peace, and self-respect become not just tools, but shields. And in their quiet strength, they are the most powerful force a narcissist cannot touch. Once you stop reacting, once you stop trying to justify your worth to someone who will never see it, you discover a new rhythm in life, one that is calm, steady, and entirely your own. You realize that your energy is no longer a currency to be spent on someone else's chaos. It is sacred, meant to nourish your growth, your joy, your life. Peace is not passive. It is active strength. When you refuse to engage in arguments, when you refuse to enter the games designed to provoke you, you create a space where their influence simply dissolves. They may scream, manipulate, or demand, but the energy they once extracted from you is now gone, like water flowing through closed fingers. They cannot provoke what you no longer allow, and your silence is not weakness. It is mastery. It is a statement that your emotional world is yours to protect, and no one, no matter how loud or cunning, can intrude without invitation. Self-respect becomes the backbone of this transformation. It is the invisible force that allows you to walk away when they push, to stay silent when they bait, and to hold your ground when they attempt to undermine your confidence. In embracing peace and self-respect, you reclaim the life that was once overshadowed by manipulation. The narcissist, once a towering presence in your world, now finds their power evaporating because they are confronted not with anger or resistance, but with the unwavering truth that your energy, your dignity, your life belong to you alone. And in that stillness, in that quiet mastery, you are finally free to live fully, freely, and on your own terms. And as you embrace this peace and cultivate self-respect, another revelation begins to unfold. The fourth truth, which flows naturally from everything you have learned so far. When you stop dancing to their chaos, when you refuse to react to every provocation, when you withdraw the very energy that once sustained them, something remarkable happens. The music stops. The constant drama, the emotional storms, the manipulation, all of it begins to fade because the audience that fueled it is no longer playing along. And in that silence, you discover the extraordinary power of absence. A narcissist thrives on attention, on the ability to control the narrative, on the certainty that someone is reacting to every word, every action, every emotion they project. But when you stop giving them that audience, the very foundation of their influence crumbles. They are left alone with their own emptiness, their own insecurities, their own reflection. And it is in this emptiness that they confront the truth they have spent a lifetime avoiding. They are not powerful on their own. Their power exists only when others participate, only when others bend to their whims. The moment you walk away emotionally, the moment you claim your inner space, the narcissist loses the stage they once dominated. And while this may feel subtle to the outside world, it is transformative. You are no longer reacting, no longer validating, no longer feeding a system that diminishes your life. The drama collapses, the tension dissolves, and the person who once seemed so imposing begins to shrink into irrelevance. This is the quiet victory that few understand. You do not have to fight, argue, or control. You simply choose to live without their influence. And in that choice, the narcissist's grip loosens, their shadow fades, and the life that was once overshadowed by their chaos blooms again, fully, freely, and entirely under your control. And as the chaos fades and the narcissist's influence weakens, you begin to experience something deeper, something transformative. The fifth truth. Healing itself becomes your greatest power, and it is through this healing that you become untouchable. Every boundary you set, every moment of silence you claim, every piece of your energy you guard feeds not just your freedom, but your restoration. The life once drained by manipulation starts to refill with purpose, clarity, and self-worth. You begin to understand that the strongest response to a narcissist is not confrontation or revenge, but the quiet, unwavering act of becoming whole. Healing is not a single moment. It is a process, a deliberate act of reclaiming pieces of yourself that were scattered or compromised. It is the courage to feel without apology, to speak without fear, and to live without bending to another's demands. As you heal, the narcissist loses the very leverage they relied on, the control over your emotions, the access to your self-esteem, the ability to provoke your pain. In this way, your recovery is not just personal, it is revolutionary. It demonstrates to them, and more importantly to yourself, that your life, your identity, and your worth cannot be dictated by someone else's need for dominance. And here's the extraordinary part. As you grow stronger, as your soul becomes more resilient, you realize the paradox of power. The narcissist may have seemed untouchable once, but now they are diminished not by force but by your transformation. Your peace and healing shine like a lighthouse, unwavering and unassailable, revealing the emptiness they cannot fill. In that shining light of your restored self, you are no longer prey to their manipulation. You are untouchable. You are free. And in that freedom, the life you build is no longer shaped by fear, chaos, or control. It is shaped entirely by your courage, your growth, and your unwavering commitment to yourself. And as your healing deepens, another truth becomes undeniable. The sixth truth, which flows naturally from every step you've taken so far, you teach people how to treat you. Every boundary, every act of self-respect, every moment of silence is not just a shield for yourself. It is a lesson for the world around you. It is a declaration that you will no longer accept less than what you deserve. And in that declaration, you set the standard for how others can and cannot engage with you. The narcissist, in particular, feels this shift profoundly. They have spent years accustomed to bending others to their will, taking without consideration, and pushing boundaries without consequence. But when you begin to hold firm, when you begin to honor your own worth consistently, you communicate a truth they cannot manipulate. You are not theirs to control. Every interaction becomes a mirror reflecting the consequences of their behavior. They begin to understand, often with frustration and disbelief, that their old tactics no longer work because you are no longer a willing participant in the game. This is the transformative power of teaching through your actions rather than your words. You no longer need to argue, explain, or demand respect. You simply embody it. And in embodying it, you shift the dynamic entirely. People learn from the way you show up, from the way you insist on your dignity, from the way you refuse to compromise your soul for someone else's ego. In this way, the narcissist's power continues to fade, not because you fought them, but because you taught them that the energy, attention, and respect they once took for granted are earned, not owed. And as you continue to demonstrate your worth through unwavering self-respect, you reclaim your life and set a new standard, one where your peace, your boundaries, and your dignity are no longer negotiable, and no one, not even the most cunning manipulator, can take them from you. And as you teach through your actions and hold firm to your worth, a seventh truth emerges, flowing naturally from all you have built so far. You don't win by fighting the narcissist, you win by walking away, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. All the anger, all the arguments, all the attempts to prove yourself only feed the fire they thrive on. The real victory comes not from matching their manipulation, but from stepping out of their arena entirely. It is in the act of walking away that you reclaim your life in its purest form. Walking away does not mean you are weak or cowardly. It means you are strong enough to choose yourself over chaos, freedom over control, and peace over drama. When you remove yourself from their sphere of influence, the narcissist loses the very thing they rely on to feel powerful: your energy, your attention, your emotional reactions. They are left to confront themselves, their insecurities, and the emptiness they have tried to hide behind: charm, manipulation, and dominance. And as they flounder, you are building something infinitely more valuable: a life that is fully yours, unshaken by their attempts to pull you back into their storm. This is where true mastery lies, in the ability to protect your inner world without needing to conquer theirs. You don't need revenge, confrontation, or validation. Every step away is a declaration that your life, your peace, and your self-respect are non-negotiable. And with each step, you grow stronger, more grounded, and more untouchable. The power of walking away is subtle, yet profound. It transforms the dynamic entirely. You are no longer a participant in their games. You are no longer an audience for their chaos. You are free. And in that freedom, you discover the ultimate truth. The person who once seemed so controlling loses their grip the moment you stop being available to be controlled. Your victory is quiet, powerful, and complete because it is rooted not in manipulation, but in your unwavering commitment to yourself. And as you walk away, claiming your freedom with each deliberate step, another realization becomes crystal clear. The eighth truth, emerging naturally from the path you've been forging: a narcissist is only powerful when you forget your own power. For too long, you may have believed their dominance was unshakable, that their presence dictated your worth, that their opinions or manipulations defined your reality. But the truth is, their power exists solely in the space you allow them to occupy, in your mind, your heart, and your life. The moment you remember who you are, the moment you stand in your own strength, their influence evaporates. This is why so many people feel trapped for years, not because narcissists are inherently stronger, but because they are expert at making you forget the truth of your own existence. They are mirrors that distort, shadows that intimidate, and storms that confuse. But when you reclaim your awareness, When you reconnect with your own values, your own dignity, your own voice, you realize that their hold was never absolute. You are not defined by their perception of you, nor by the chaos they try to orchestrate. You are defined by your own choices, your own courage, and the life you decide to live. Remembering your power is an act of rebellion, but it is also an act of love for yourself. Every moment you assert your will, protect your peace, and honor your worth chips away at the illusion of their authority. You are no longer living under their shadow. You are walking in your own light. And as you do, the narcissist who once seemed so imposing begins to shrink in your presence. Not because you humiliated them or forced them into submission, but because your life, fully claimed, fully lived, shows them something they cannot touch: your power. Your energy, your peace, and your worth are yours alone. And in remembering them, you become untouchable, unstoppable, and entirely free. And as you remember your own power and stand firmly in it, a ninth truth reveals itself, flowing seamlessly from everything you've built. Your peace is the freedom they cannot reach, the life they cannot control. When you stop giving them your energy, your attention, and your emotional reactions, you create a sanctuary around yourself, a space where their manipulation, their chaos, and their demands cannot penetrate. This sanctuary is not built with force or aggression. It is built with calm, clarity, and unwavering self-respect. It is the quiet yet unshakable assertion that your life belongs to you and you alone. The narcissist has always thrived on interference, on drama, on the ability to pull others into their storms, but peace is impermeable. It cannot be bargained with, threatened, or barged through. When you embrace your own serenity, when you cultivate an inner life that is rich, fulfilling, and self-sustaining, you deny them the very thing they need to feel important: your emotional participation. They may push, they may test, they may rage, but they encounter only stillness, only boundaries, only a life that refuses to revolve around their whims. And in this stillness, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim not just your energy, but your sense of self, your clarity, your dignity. The narcissist may continue to exist in your world, but they no longer define it. Your life moves forward according to your choices, your desires, your values, and your goals. The chains they once held over your mind and heart dissolve completely, leaving behind a freedom so profound that nothing they do can ever diminish it. This is the ultimate triumph, the quiet victory. Your peace becomes a fortress, your boundaries become a shield, and your life becomes untouchable. And in that untouchable life, the narcissist loses their hold entirely, powerless against the radiance of your fully claimed existence. And as your peace becomes unshakable and your life fully your own, the 10th truth unfolds naturally from all that has come before. When you rise above them, you don't make them your slave. You simply break free from being theirs. Every argument you avoided, every boundary you held, every moment of self-respect you claimed leads to this ultimate liberation. Freedom is not about control over another person. It is about reclaiming control over yourself, your emotions, your choices, and your destiny. It is the profound realization that your life was never theirs to command, and it never will be again. For too long, you may have measured yourself through their approval, feared their judgment, or been caught in the whirlwind of their manipulation. But now, as you walk away from their chaos with quiet strength and unwavering dignity, you begin to see the truth clearly. Their hold existed only as long as you allowed it. And the moment you stop allowing it, you rise. You rise not with anger, not with revenge, but with clarity, purpose, and the undeniable force of someone who knows their worth. Breaking free is a journey, not a single act. It requires courage to stand in your own light when they try to cast shadows, patience to honor your own pace when the world pressures you to react, and faith that your life, lived fully and authentically, is more powerful than any manipulation. The narcissist may linger on the edges of your life, but they no longer define it. Their voice, their chaos, their attempts at control become background noise against the symphony of your reclaimed existence. And in this freedom, you discover the most profound truth of all: the power you sought in controlling them was never necessary. Your power has always been within you. And when you claim it fully, you are untouchable, unstoppable, and entirely alive. In breaking free, you do not dominate, you soar. And now, my friends, as we arrive at the close of this journey together, I want you to feel the full weight of what has been spoken. Because this is not just a lesson about narcissists, boundaries, or manipulation. This is a lesson about you. Every story shared, every truth revealed, every moment of reflection is meant to guide you back to the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. You are not here to be a pawn in someone else's game. You are here to live fully, courageously, and authentically. Think for a moment about the life you've been living, the compromises, the fear, the moments you silenced your voice just to avoid conflict, just to keep someone else's ego afloat. Imagine replacing all of that with peace, clarity, and the quiet, unwavering certainty that your worth cannot be taken, only honored. That is the life that awaits you. That is the freedom that is your birthright. Every boundary you set, every moment you claim for yourself, every act of self-respect is a step closer to that reality. And the beauty of this journey is that it doesn't require them to change. It doesn't require their recognition. And it doesn't require confrontation. It requires only one thing: your commitment to yourself. Because when you live from that place of strength, the entire world, including those who once tried to dominate you, will respond differently. Not because you forced it, but because you refuse to let anything diminish you. So take this moment right now as a promise to yourself. Stand tall in your worth, guard your peace, and walk your path with courage. Rise above the chaos, rise above the manipulation, rise above anyone who would try to define your value. Your life is yours. Your energy is yours. Your freedom is yours. And when you finally claim it, fully and unapologetically, you will discover something extraordinary. The world bends to no one, but your own soul can soar endlessly. Stay with that truth, live it, and let it transform you completely, fiercely, and beautifully.